Soul Tribe. The emotions kick up this week as the sun enters into Cancer and we kick off the summer solstice, depending on what part of the world you're in. And then we have our first full moon in Capricorn that's going to be coming up. And then we also have some questions as far as like what life direction we're going to, where we have Mercury and Venus squaring the node. So a lot going on this week. So stay tuned to figure out how to work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes, and shares. Your support really is just the greatest, gang. And it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and I'm happy higher self guides have brought you here. We're in for an amazing journey. Now, what I do on this channel is that I talk about the celestial forecast that's happening in the weather, see what those planets are chit-chatting about, and then hopefully translate this into practical ways that you can utilize this throughout your journey, throughout your day-to-day. So what I'm going to be talking about is I'll be covering the week of June 20th through the 26th. And just so you're all aware right now, the only planets that are retrograde right now is Pluto, but soon we had Saturn that's going to be going retrograde here next week. But I always like a nice kind of Saturn retrograde. That gives us a time to get ourselves together. But we'll talk more about that in the next week's video. But let's get into this week, because on Jupiter Day, that'll be on Thursday, the 20th of June, at about 11:12 a.m., and that'll be Pacific time, the sun is going to be squaring Neptune, and that's going to be at 29 degrees 53 minutes. The sun is in Gemini and Neptune is in Pisces. Now, this one you want to be mindful of when we're dealing with Neptune, because Neptune can deal with escapisms. Neptune deals with intoxication. It can deal with drugs. And so just be mindful of. Let's say you happen to, this energy could be, for example, like you happen to go out to, let's say you go out to a bar or something, you happen to sitting there, you're having some drinks, you're talking to a buddy, maybe someone bumps up against you, says something wrong, you feel the energy feels kind of weird, you misinterpret something, you're seeing things, because when we're thinking about, there's a lot of duality here, a lot of chances for confusion, because we got Gemini, which is in Pisces, which are both very visible signs of duality, and so we want to be careful about just, I would, pause could be very, very helpful during these times. And this could even be not even just like a social setting like that. This could be where there might be even misunderstandings within, let's say, relationships, or maybe you just happen to hear something wrong. It can get a little strange when we're talking about the sun and Neptune. There's a lot of confusion there. So I would just be mindful of things like that. That may be a time to maybe turn in early that day, allow yourself some time to rest. I also feel too with this, or I also think too with this, that this could be an invitation to kind of look at, because when we're thinking about Gemini, this is our perception. We're thinking about our everyday environment, the stuff that we're ingesting as far as like, information, things along those lines. And I would see this could be a great time to really kind of see how you escape. What are some of your escapist tendencies? Is it through social media? Is it through food? Is it through television? And just seeing how that's relating to you when we're talking about the sun, your sense of self. And maybe this could be something that you can, because the squares, and then let me actually tell you what a square is about. The squares are when the planets are 90 degrees apart from one another, and they can be these energies of challenge. They can bring tension, delays, but I like to think of the squares as they are inviting action when we're thinking about them, whether that's to take action or to maybe even pull back a little bit. So, but with this one, I feel like this is an invitation to kind of really see how something may be affecting you and how you may want to go about correcting that. Really kind of pay attention to how something is feeling, what maybe comes up. Maybe pay attention to a thought like, maybe I do tend to reach for some extra cake when I'm feeling stressed. Or maybe I do tend to shut down and ghost when I do feel some sort of way. Just kind of pay attention to that and see how that makes you feel, because as we get to later into the day at about 1:51 p.m., that's when the sun is going to be entering into Cancer. And now we're entering that's like the long, well, depending on where you're at in the world, it's in the, 9 degrees, 53 minutes. The sun is in Gemini and Neptune is in Pisces. And so we want to be careful about just, pause could be very, very helpful during these times. And this could be where there might be some misunderstandings within, let's say, relationships, or maybe you just happen to hear something wrong. It can get a little strange when we're talking about the sun, your sun, your in the northern hemisphere, this is like the longest day of the year. Hemisphere, you know what I mean? But it's the longest day of the year. And I find that interesting too, because I feel like it's like the sun is really getting a chance to have like a long look at himself. When the sun is in Cancer, it is a very bright time because the sun, again, it's the longest day, but the sun is exposed the longest. I feel like people really kind of see the sun, and after a while, when you're exposed to too much sunlight, sometimes you can get a little agitated. Emotions can really start running high. You can think about when we have like a heat wave that tends to, people get a little exacerbated. We're getting impatient, we're feeling frustrated. So I feel like this can really be a very insightful period of time. Cancer is an invitation to go within and really kind of nurture those parts of yourself that have been ignored. We've been so busy with all of the Gemini energy that now it's a time to just kind of pump the brakes and really see, how do we feel about all of the information and downloads that we just took in from our guides, from our friends, from our phones, from our computers, from our books, and what does it all mean? Where do I feel like that's going? What do I do with that? So this can be a great time to just get some. Because when I think about, the Cancer energy for me and like the tarot, that gets into like Queen of Cups energy. This is Chariot energy. And I feel like this can be a time where you can look at any sort of family blockers, because Cancer also deals with the home, the family. It's the cardinal water sign, so this is your first interaction with emotions. This is where it's like, oh, I feel this. What does that mean? This can be a very creative time with Cancer. If you have been dealing with a lot of emotional things, I would say like an art therapy, because Cancer and Pisces have a lot of crossover a little bit. And the moon does very well in Pisces. Neptune is exalted in Cancer, and so there's a lot of similar things. There's a great vivid imagination when it comes to Cancer, because again, that's dealing with your inner world. So this can be a time for you. The sun is shining a light, is giving you a portal, essentially, or giving you this big flashlight to see what's going on inside. What things have I been ignoring? Haven't I been nurturing? And what can I heal from this? So I would get like some sort of like art therapy. This could be where you're doing some sort of like creative writing. This could be where some poetry or some singing or something, maybe some sculpting. This could be maybe some graffiti, do something real creative, do a whole cool mural somewhere. I'm with it. But yeah, this is a time too to really kind of be around loved ones, to understand each other too, that we all can feel some type of way sometimes. Even if you don't have a lot of water in your chart, this can still bring a time where this can even be an especially confusing time if you're not, one who dips into emotions every now and again, or someone who's used to dealing with people who are being emotional. And this is going to be something too, while the sun is in Cancer, we're going to want to really kind of pay attention to where the moon is at. If you're not any other time, Cancer season is when to do it, because that is the guardian of Cancer, the moon. So you can see how, and this is going to be an interesting one, because then we have these 2 full moons that are going to be in Capricorn that's happening. So we got a lot of interesting energy here, but that's the sun in Cancer in a nutshell. And this is the last stop before the sun enters into his home sign of Leo and is reborn again. This is when he goes big. But first, before he goes all big, he's got to reflect and see what's happening. What am I feeling from this? Where reconnect with source again. So, check in, because Cancer is the home space, yes, but it really even goes a bit deeper than that. This is where where you first experienced emotion, which is within this vessel here, within your body. So, and again, really kind of tune in. That could be a really great way to work through some body stuff too, doing some yoga or doing some sort of like active flow like that. So, but the next day, Venus Day, the 21st of June, At about 9:22 a.m., Mercury in Cancer is going to be sextiling Mars in Taurus, and they are at 9 degrees and 13 minutes of those signs. Now, with Mars and with the sextile, let's start there. That's when the planets are 60 degrees apart, and this can be an energy that creates opportunities on a base level. This could be just where you feel like things are just kind of going easy, especially when we're talking about Mars and Mercury. The energy feels like it's kind of like it's like a go with the flow type of energy. We're talking Cancer and Taurus, and so we're not really rushing. This can be a great time to, it's a Venus day. It's a Friday, so this can be a great time to schedule like maybe a night in with some close friends. Maybe have like a game night. Maybe bring some snacks. The Taurus energy, something to recharge the batteries, that emotional batteries. But this can also be too where you're really kind of on another thing, just because the sextiles create opportunities. And I was thinking that with this could be something where you're feeling something is off, maybe with Cancer, like with that Mercury in Cancer, like, maybe I've been a little stressed out lately. Maybe I do need to work in some more time for nurturing me. Maybe I do need to take a little more time to do some reading. Maybe have like a bath night every Friday. Or maybe this is something where I want to maybe adjust my work hours a little bit. Maybe I want to do something more part-time and spend more time with the family. Or this could be where maybe I'm not feeling fulfilled and I want to do a little bit more. I want to take my life to the next level. I want to invest in something, do something real creative, whatever that may look like. This is very, I love when, because Taurus is that builder energy, and I love that they have that opportunity when we're in like Pisces and Cancer, because it's like really taking what you feel and just manifesting it. That you can really kind of ground your emotions and just like take that water and water that soil and see something grow. And this is a perfect time to be kind of looking at your accomplishments as well and see what you're going for, because on the same day, at about 6:03 p.m., we're going to be having that full moon in Capricorn, and that's going to be at, I didn't put down the degrees. I think it's at 1 degree of Capricorn, and the sun's in Cancer. Now with the full moon, this is the time where this is a time of reflection with the full moon, because now we're kind of seeing how the intention we set either at the beginning of the new moon in Gemini, or we may even be looking back a little bit further if you had set an intention during the new moon in Capricorn that had happened back in January. I remember that one. That was one where the time when the moon entered into Capricorn and when the new moon happened, it was during the hour of Saturn. So I thought that was a very auspicious new moon. And so I find that very interesting now that I'm actually reflecting on that there's going to be these two full moons that are going to be happening in Capricorn, one at the very beginning of Capricorn and one at the very end of Capricorn. And that end degree of Capricorn is getting a lot of attention too, because that's where Pluto's going to be retrograding one last time before he officially is done with Capricorn and is going to be clearly focused on the Aquarian themes, and things are just going to just take off even more so than they are. It's wild. It's where the world is evolving. But the full moon is, I feel, in Capricorn. This is a time for looking at your achievements and how are you feeling about them. Do you feel like you are about where you're at? You're feeling pretty close. This is a time for a job well done. Like for a time of patting yourself on the back, even if you feel like you fell short, or you feel like you need to start all the way over. Because here's the thing, even if we felt like we missed our mark, you can, with Capricorn, it's not about giving up. It's okay, I didn't achieve what I wanted to. What did I learn? And when you're thinking about that, the dispositor of where this full moon is happening is in Pisces. And that's Saturn. Saturn being in Pisces is very compassionate. Saturn is Saturn's one that never, he gets seen as like, one that doesn't, like, he delays, like he doesn't want you to get your dream. Saturn is the biggest one that wants you to get your dream. Saturn is the one to tell you when you're feeling down, like, yes, you can. Who told you that you can't? You? Are you going to let you get you down, or are you going to let you build you up? Saturn is that tough fatherly love when we're thinking about that. And that's going to be a theme, then we're thinking about that how we're kind of parenting ourselves as well, and how we may feel like we need to maybe parent others as well, for what they may have accomplished or whatever that may be. But this full moon in Capricorn, I feel, even again, if there's a failure, there's a lesson there. And if there's a success, it's like, all right, there's a lesson there. It's like, okay, so I can do this. So now I know I can take it further, because maybe I set my goal a little under. I just wanted to test the waters to see, like, can I really deliver that? Can I really trust myself? And now it's like, yes, I can. And so, this moon is meant to be very uplifting. This is a very compassionate full moon, both of these full moons that are going to be happening, because Saturn's going to be direct in one and retrograde in the other. So I feel like this, maybe if you were really hard on yourself for this one, feel what you need to feel. When we're talking with the full moon, let it be, especially with Capricorn. Capricorn has a tendency to, where it's very practical. I do feel like Cancer learns from Cap. My sun sign's in Cancer, and I have oppositions to Capricorn, and I have to call on that Capricorn when I need to get grounded. When it's just like, hey, what are you going to do with those emotions? Are you going to let them run you, or are you going to activate this? But also, too, sometimes Capricorn can neglect their needs. Sometimes, when they're getting too much in the achievement, when they're feeling too much pressure, like the world is on your shoulders. So I think this is going to be the moon. I feel is trying to really kind of reinforce us, like kind of like and like kind of encourage us that we can, if we set our hearts to it, we can manifest it. So, really set some strong intentions. This, if not for this one, set it for the next one, because you're getting a second chance at this, a second chance to see that, like, what did you learn from this one? And really taking responsibility for that's the big thing with Capricorn. Responsibility, accountability, but Saturn always applauds when you pass that test, when you get out of your way and become your greatest ally, and I think that can show too how you feel about Saturn sometimes. I feel like that can be how you get in your way sometimes. You could see it as where, oh, he's just bringing me down, or it's like, okay, he's showing me this for a reason. Why? Why is this? Why do I feel like Saturn's being so hard? And then I get on the other side, it's like, oh, because look at what I'm doing now. I'm living my dreams. And Saturn and Pisces, he wants you to live your dreams. So now, speaking of Saturn, on Saturn Day, I'll give you a guess what that one is. Saturday, the 22nd of June, at about 6:13 p.m., Mercury is going to be squaring the North Node, and this is going to be at 12 degrees and 2 minutes, Mercury in Cancer and the North Node in Aries. Now, this is interesting, these next couple ones, because Venus is going to be doing the same thing a few days later. But when something is talking with the North Node, it's talking with the South Node. But the squares are unique because this is where we're kind of at a crossroads here. Because the North Node in your chart is unknown territory. It's where your soul is wanting you to aim for. And the South Node, I like to look at it as what you're familiar with. It's what you've mastered. There's nothing necessarily wrong with staying in South Node energy, but it's just like nothing's happening. You're growing. Interestingly enough, my son is conjunct the South Node, and so that means it's opposed the North Node. And where I'm very familiar with Cancer energy can come pretty easy for me. I have to remember to dip into those Capricorn energies, even though I don't have a lot of earth in my chart. I have a lot of fire. I have there's a lot of energy, but it's hard to ground that stuff sometimes. That's where it's like it's in my 6th house too, interestingly enough. So this is like a day-to-day challenge for me, but that's something that when you work towards your North Node, it's something that evolves, but it's a challenge because again it's easy to get into. I know how to do Cancer. I can do Cancer very well, but this with Mercury, we're thinking about our mind, how we're communicating, and so this could be where when we're talking about the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra, you're looking at where you maybe have been, and this is going to be something that may be emotional. You may be seeing where you've been afraid to do something because of a limiting belief. Maybe you had been really thought that someone's words were true, that you couldn't do something, and then, it's, how do I want to put this? Aries is where you're needing to take charge and where you're needing, and sometimes with Cancer, where this square, this tension could be, is that you may not feel like you can do this stuff, but the Aries energy is asking you to be brave, to take that step into the unknown, to give this a try. Sure, you can fall into, you have to see too where this is falling in your chart. This will help to see where this conflict would be, where this conflict is of interest may be happening here, but it's like, do I fall back into the same old things that I always know, or do I try something different, try something brave, try something that resonates for me and what I actually feel, that nurtures me, rather than, when we're thinking about Cancer, nurturing others. So an example I could give you would be, let's say you want to quit drinking, but to do that means you don't go, maybe you want to, your buddies don't want to quit, you don't want to do that. So it's like, okay, well, I can't go out with you this weekend, but there's a part of you, you're sitting in your apartment, it's just like, what do I do now? Like, do I go to a movie or do I just stay at home? Well, man, this is boring. I could be out with my friends, but and there's that constant back and forth. But it could be where you don't go out with your friends. Maybe you get caught up on some reading, or maybe you clean up your space, or maybe you go to a movie instead, or maybe take yourself out for dinner or something, and then have it, or maybe get like takeout, and then have an early night, wake up refreshed, and maybe you're feeling motivated to tackle something else, and you're feeling great, and like it could be something, but then again, you could, with the Libra, you could fall back on that. You could do the things that would please others to do this. So this is something to think about. It could be where that could be a tough time. Something you're on the fence, and this could even be too, where maybe you're wanting to, and I think this would kind of tie in with when we get into Venus too, where maybe you're wanting to do something, like as far as like maybe you're wanting to relocate somewhere, maybe you're wanting to start a business, like you're feeling something, it's like, because now Mercury being in Cancer, this is getting a little less logical, this is getting more emotional. It's like you're feeling like you're wanting to do this, and the North Node is just like, well, then do it, but then you're just like, but I'm not sure, because logically that doesn't make sense, like how could I possibly do that? But Cancer is resourceful. Cancer can figure things out, but you have to let the emotions get out of the way, because sometimes that storm can get riled up, and then you're all over the place. And so this can be a time, if you find yourself at a tug of war place, finding some ways to ground those emotions, especially if you feel a lot of emotions riled up. While we have this Cancerian energy too, look to your moon sign. Look to see how you nurture, your moon likes to be nurtured, like how you like to be tended to. When my moon's in Gemini, so there are sometimes I have to process things, of course, but I do need to talk about it. I do have a 12th house sun, I do, in 12th house Mercury. So sometimes I do need to get like an understanding of how to articulate that. But I'll let someone know that, at least, like, hey, let me take a moment and sit with this, and I'll be right back. But I either have to talk about it or I need to write about it. And I find that those really help. I find being in motion too. Sometimes I'll just talk. Like I'll find like just talking out loud. Just like I don't need anybody there. Just to talk out loud and to move, it helps to even kind of help me process some things. So that's something that I'd invite you, if you have a Gemini moon, give that a try. But it's this. Yeah, if I find getting your moon sign and seeing how you tend, that can help you get your emotions grounded to really kind of feel, understand what's going on internally, and I feel like that can help you get your compass on track there as far as like where you're wanting to go, because that's the trouble with Cancer and Aries. Aries, I feel like more than Cancer is just it's ready to go. You're like, okay, no, let's do this. Let's go for this thing. Blah blah blah. But Cancer's like sometimes Cancer's on board. Like, yeah, absolutely, I'm feeling that. And then other times I'm like, I don't think I'm feeling that. Like something doesn't feel right about that. And Aries is like, what do you mean? Like, there's no. It's just a feeling. Let's go. Like, well, you don't know until you know. You know. And just like Cancer's like, you're doing a lot. So that's where there can be this kind of back and forth, and both points are valid, but it's just like how do we find that compromise? So and then you get to Mercury Day, Wednesday the 26th, and then at 9:07 a.m., excuse me, Venus is going to be squaring the North Node at 11 degrees and 33 minutes of Cancer, North Node in Aries. Now with when we're thinking about Venus in Cancer, this one, I feel we want to look at where, especially considering that now with this node, the node is in Libra, which is the sign that Venus is guardian over, one of the signs. And so I feel that even though Venus, like even though Libra and Cancer are squared one another, I feel that Cancer and Libra could find a compromise maybe a little bit faster than Cancer and Aries. And so I think that this could be one where you want to really kind of look at where you might be giving too much of yourself, where we want to make sure that there's reciprocity. Like maybe you've been wanting to start up something while you've been playing, like, okay, well, like for example, someone's starting up their career and you want to get your thing started, or you wanting to do something separate on the side or whatever this may be, but their time doesn't allow it. It's like, okay, how can we make more time? How can we move the needle more balanced in a way? This could be where you may be the person who tends to be who you like, who someone will call on you, you're like the first one to be like, yes, like I'll help you, I'll help you. And it's like this could be a time to step back a little bit. It's like, no, I need to help myself right now. I need to think about me and where I'm going, right? I can't keep going like this where I'm just giving all myself and not allowing myself to receive, when we're thinking about with Venus too. And also, when we're thinking about Venus and Cancer, mama can be a little manipulative sometimes. Venus does well in Cancer. Cancer is, being someone with their sun sign in Cancer, and I mean, Cancer just knows how to speak to feelings. I have a buddy whose Mercury's in Cancer, and there's a way that they talk that like makes a lot of sense to me, and that's why I think we've known each other as long as we have. Just because it's just like I do, like when they talk, it's just like I hear my emotions are being heard, but also if I'm not in the right, or if I need to another perspective to think about, it's in there too. It's really cool, but Cancer energy, you want to be mindful of that kind of like emotional manipulation, that guilt tripping. That's something I feel like Cancer could do. Energy can play a victim at a lower vibration. And so we want to pay attention to that as well, where we may need to take more charge, put more responsibility into our own actions when we're talking about that. Well, if you're feeling some kind of way, then do something about it. That's something to think about when we're talking about Venus and Cancer, just thinking about with that square. So, and also, too, I feel like this is looking at, because I feel like this next energy can be very supportive if you're feeling at odds with a direction of your life. Like, maybe you're having doubts about, like, an idea here. Like, I feel like this could be, with Venus, when Cancer, she's feeling a lot. And Venus is a very receptive energy. And I feel like I think like this could be where if you're having some sort of doubts or feeling like you're not sure about something, this next energy can be one where it's like really kind of trust your intuition. It's like not really like trust your intuition when we're in Cancer energy, Because at 11:09 p.m., or excuse me, 11:09 a.m., Mercury is going to be forming a trine with Saturn. And Mercury is moving along through here. I feel like this is something where if your brain is feeling a little foggy, if things don't make sense, this kind of feels like when Mercury is in Pisces a little bit. You know, when Mercury's in a water sign, this can be a little, at least when or at least when they're in Pisces and in Cancer, we're in the ocean. We're either in the cosmic ocean or in the ocean, both equally mysterious. You know, it's like I feel Mercury is a lot sharper when they're in Scorpio. You know, that's a little bit different. But with a trine, with this Mercury trine Saturn, trines are when the planets are 120 degrees, yeah, like looking like this, 120 degrees apart from each other, and it's an easier aspect. It's a harmonious one. It indicates flow, new beginnings, and this one can be where I feel like be mindful of what you're telling yourself. This could be nurturing your thoughts. If you're like, maybe you had this idea and it's taking a lot more, maybe there are a lot more hoops. Maybe you're trying to buy a home, let's say, for example, that's something that's in Cancer's realm. But maybe you found out like maybe the land's not going to be ready for another year. Or maybe you have this relationship that you're in, you got this long-term thing or long-distance thing, things have been fantastic, but you know, how are you going to cross paths? You know, how do you keep this thing? You know, I feel like, but this trine here is, I feel, supporting the dream with Saturn. Like where there's a will, there's a way with Saturn. But this is one where, because this is between two very watery energies, you know, Cancer and Pisces, very imaginative energy, this could be where maybe you're seeing something. I feel like it's not saying don't dream, but I feel like it's saying to dream in a more digestible way, in a more pragmatic way. You can keep that big vision in mind, but it doesn't have, like, okay, for example, okay, I'm looking at my vision board here. So when I moved back to Washington, I was getting a lot of people asking me like, oh, are you from Africa? You look like this and that, and even from your voice and blah blah blah. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll go to Africa. And then I had been doing my partner had talked about astrolocality, and I had been kind of thinking about that, so I did like a deep dive, and now I'm going to be diving deeper here in a bit. But I found that I have like 6 points in Africa, and I had been wanting to go. It's on my vision board, and I've been wanting to go to Africa. So even though I want to go, I have to be mindful that, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. It's like, where can I go? You know, these places that I go, are they inhabitable? You know, maybe I need to at first, like, and I know I have like my 23andMe, I think I have some roots down there. So that's like one example of how that is. Like, even though I want to do this big thing, I know like there are small steps that are needing to be put in force, but that doesn't need to discourage it's still fueling the dream. You know what I mean? Hold the imagination, think cosmically, act locally, you know, and it's like, it keeps building the stuff that was supposed to be way more elegant than what that came out to be. But that, again, when you think about Saturn is one that he's your biggest cheerleader probably out of all of the planets. Saturn wants nothing more than for you to achieve, than to take your dreams and to give it structure, and to look at what you've done and be like, yes, I did that. And yeah, it was hard, but man, was it worth it, you know? And that's where I feel this energy is like, if you've been feeling on the fence, like something, if you've been maybe losing hope, you're not sure about something, I feel like this trine is there to support that. It's an invitation to, okay, well, let me look at something, and maybe I can't. Like, let's say you've had this idea, and maybe you can't get it off the ground. Maybe it's just not feasible right now. Okay, then when you think about the trines, now even though that is something to grieve, something that you may be letting go at the period, that Pisces energy, that Saturn and Pisces, it sucks, and feel that. Allow yourself to feel that. Understand this feeling with Mercury and Cancer, but then where do you want to take that forward? After you've processed this, where's your heart taking you next? What would fill up your cups? That gives me a very, this trine gives me a very healthy ace of cups. This is like, you tried this thing, it didn't work out, and this is where you're coming back home. You need to come back home. And then there's dad waiting on the doorstep, just kind of like, there, glass of water, in an invitation. Tell me what happened. Walk me through it. And what do you want to do from here? What do you, after you've taken the time and dealt with that, where do you think you want to go with this? Do you want to take some time and just kind of figure it out? Do you want to just kind of be in the flow for a minute, just kind of in this surrender state, or do you want to get back at something else, get started up active? So yeah, very interesting energy this week. We are getting into, just as we're getting into Cancer, again, be just very receptive of what's going down. Be mindful of projecting with Cancer. Just verify with people. Talking can be a very powerful time during Cancer. Just, to make sure that what's going on isn't just in your imagination, because Cancer has a very vivid inner world, and this could be where you can cook up a lot of stuff with Cancer. I was actually talking with someone about that, about the relationship between Cancer and Pisces. Me and the Sag were talking about that. That's a story for another day, but talk about this stuff to make sure, think when we're thinking about Cancer, if something's not making sense, we look to Capricorn to ground that, to like, okay, to bring it outside of ourselves. What's going on here? Okay, this is what happened. So like, instead of like, hey, like, I feel like, you're doing this, like, hey, is this, I'm feeling like, hey, you seem upset. Like, is that true? Or is that maybe there's something going on with me? And then that gives you an invitation. Am I doing okay? Have I picked up something? Because Cancer is, again, a very receptive energy. And so that's something too to be mindful of. Getting into very energetic exercises. Setting up, just like making sure to regularly cleanse your energy. Even like, one of my things I like to do is, to imagine just like there's this, either like some water or just like this light energy just kind of washing over you, and just, I'm taking any energies that are not mine, and I'm lovingly returning them to whomever they belong to with kindness, love, and understanding and compassion. No, excuse me, kindness, compassion, and understanding. And because, sometimes people don't mean to put stuff on you. Sometimes they put it on you because it's a cry for help. But that's not yours to take. Not all the time. There's a time to help, and there's a time where I'm like, like, what are you throwing at me? Like, let's talk about, are we just going to be emotional? Or are we going to work with this? Or are we, like, it's one thing if you need to go through it. I can be there, but like, let me know what we're doing. Let me know how I can be here for you. So this can be, and this is what Saturn and Pisces is talking about too. And with him getting ready to go retrograde here soon, this is really seeing where we've been energetically irresponsible, and where we're needing to take more accountability of, I had just told someone not too long ago that I'm not going to let them make me feel some kind of way. I'm going to take responsibility. I'm not going to give them that power. Like, I'm not going to let, like, if they're trying to irritate me, it's one thing if we're doing jokingly, but like, if there's something where I'm like feeling like for real irritated, I'm not going to give it any more energy, because I'm not going to let it bother me, because that is, if I bite, sure, they instigated it, but I'm fueling it now, because now I want to be the one. And then my Leo placements, I learned here over the last year, I love that. It was something to look at. It was fascinating. I was the one last year, and it was ridiculous. And so, yeah, that's something to pay attention to as well, because when Cancer's hot, Cancer's reactive, or can be, if you're not aware of what's going on. So mindfulness and presence and grounding is encouraged during this period of time. And keep eyes on the moon. And with that being said, If you are curious of what the moon's doing and you're wanting to get a better idea of how she may be working in your chart, come on over to my other channel, The Chariot and Friends. It is, I'd say it's for the sign of Cancer. It started off as, just doing like zodiac for signs of Cancer, but then I kind of shifted and started to talk about the moon, because Cancer being, especially if you have it in your big three, sun, moon, rising, but in your personal planets too, and that includes your Mercury, Venus, and Mars. If you have Cancer there, that's something you want to pay attention to, because that affects you daily. Especially when we're talking about those 5 planets. The outer ones, it's a little bit looser, but with the personal ones, you want to, having the eyes on the moon can be very, very, very beneficial. Mars in Cancer, absolutely. Just all of it. There's justifications for it. So, yeah, that's something that you're curious about. And this could be too, where if you want to just understand how Cancerian energy works, because when the sun is in Cancer, this is an invitation to understand what the sun in Cancer means for you, how that does interact in your chart. So if you just wanted to understand that and how the moon works, come over to my other channel. And also, too, if this Cancer season does happen to be emotional one for you, want to see what part of your chart is being activated during this time, come book a reading with me. I have links down in the description box below with all of the services that I provide. And I'll tell you what, who better to learn to, with than someone who has their sun sign in Cancer, my moon signs in Gemini, so we can talk about it ad nauseum. And I have a Leo rising, so it's there to lift you up. It's there to encourage. It's there to find that enthusiasm for life. And you know what? If that Leo rising is enough, I got 4 more stacks of it to back it up, and I'm ready to bring it. So, but I think that's all I got for you. So, stay mindful out there, stay grounded, stay present, raise that vibration through the roof. Keep eyes on your chart, learn through the language of astrology, find your sun, moon, and rising, figure out how these energies are working for you. This could be a great time, because last thought, if you have placements in Libra or Aries, this can be a tough time for you, because this is forming squares with your Aries and Libra placements. So look at that. Capricorn placements, this is forming oppositions with your signs. But I find oppositions can be a little bit easier to handle than the square energy. Oppositions, you're just trying to find that happy medium. My chart is I have a lot of oppositions in my chart, so it really is just like you find it's a lot of back and forth, but you end up finding that middle ground. And then if you have placements in Pisces or in Scorpio, this is going to be where new beginnings come up, where you could be getting more intuitive hits, where you could be feeling more, getting more inspirations. This could be very great healing work, I feel, for both sides, especially for Scorpio placements. I find that adding that softness of Cancer energy can really help you process some things. And for Pisces, I feel like that can be a really, really vivid time to nurture that imagination, to get some rest, to do some really creative endeavors when you find some time. So, and then for Taurus and Virgo, it can be a very opportune time for you, if you've been working really hard, to take a break, to make sure you're nurturing yourself, to check in with how you're doing, because that's forming a sextile with your placements. So to tune into yourself and to tune into maybe those around you, there to be there to lend that helping hand if you've tended to yourself, if you got the energy for it. So really kind of tune into your body when you're feeling into Cancer season. Tune into how you're really feeling. You're more receptive to that when we're in Cancer season. So. And fire signs, it's water. So Leo, Sag, that's, but yeah, pay attention for those placements there. And otherwise, just kind of look at where that falls in your house placements, and let's find out how to work with the energy. So, and I will catch you on the next one. Later.